Hey y'all, so it's Blake and I am sitting in my crazy creek. You can hear it. Sitting in my crazy creek on the floor in the sunlight like I do in the winter time when my house is really cold because it feels great. And I've decided it's time for another video. For the last 10 days or so I've been thinking a lot about insecurity and how I might be able to organize some of my really messy thoughts about what it is so that I can maybe offer them up in a video, get them in a permanent form and offer them up to the public, to you guys, to the people I love. So I think I might be ready. I'm gonna give it a shot. So the plan is this is just going to be a short little introductory video, and then the next video is going to be eyelash. Next video is going to be about the nature of insecurity, sort of its essence, what it really is. I think there's a widespread misunderstanding about what insecurity is. I actually think we use the word incorrectly all the time. I think I do too sometimes. So I want to address some of that, and then the third video will be about its effects. So after sort of settling what it is something that tends to cause other things. I'm going to argue that we usually call the things that insecurity causes insecurity. It's like we call the symptoms of insecurity, the results of it, insecurity. We need to change our language. So we want to nail down some of the effects. Kind of outline some practical experiences of, well, if you're insecure, this might be what it looks like, you know. And then the last one is about its defeat, how to basically stop insecurity, how to combat it. And I'm not sure I'm going to have a whole lot to offer, but we'll give it a shot anyway. So let's see, I got a few scattered thoughts I want to offer here in the introduction. I first want to say, man, I think there are two really blatant sins in the body of Christ that I perceive to be very widespread. The two most blatant sins in the body of Christ, I would say, are sexual sin and sins relating to insecurity. And I am saying sins related to insecurity because it's the effects, it's not the actual insecurity. More about that later. So I just think those are two extremely prolific sins in the family of Christ, and it's one of the ways that we don't measure, we don't represent His name very well. And so I think of Luke 10:2 that the harvest is really plentiful. There's a lot of fruit to be reaped in healing from insecurity, but the laborers are few. There aren't a lot of workers who seem to be able to really minister well for people who need healing there. And so here's why I'm telling you that. Because I think if you are someone who struggles with insecurity, God is a specialist of taking taking terrible things and converting them into wonderful things. That's what He's going to do like crazy when He comes back. That's what He does on some scale in all of us. That's what He did with the cross. That's what He's been doing since He began this whole human enterprise. But if you're someone who struggles with insecurity, know that if you were to really join with God to seek healing from Him about this, and then a year out from now you experience a lot of healing from it, do you know how badly needed you are and would be to bring healing to others? You know? So I know a lot of dudes who have gotten a lot of victory over sexual sin, and because of that, because God has brought them through that, they are able to minister to other guys who struggle with it in a special way. That's my own story even. And we need people who have been healed from insecurity and its I almost said concomitant. And its concomitant accompanying sins. Sorry if I'm a geek. Okay, I don't want to go too far into that, but so I just think it's a big deal, and there's a huge need, and I would encourage you to really go after this hard and bless some people through the healing. So there's that. It's just a big old blatant sin, and then I guess maybe I could offer something about my own personal story with interaction. Nothing detailed, real fast, but I think it would be good just so that you have an understanding of why I'm about to talk about it in the way that I am. So I would say that, literally, I would say that everyone experiences insecurity or has at some point. But the way in which they experience it is on a spectrum. You know, it's not whether you do or don't. It's just to what extent do you, how often do you, how severe is it. I think everyone as a kid, and maybe I'll talk about this in the next video, everyone as a kid is insecure. You have to be taught who you are. It doesn't come naturally, and we are sort of wired by God to get that from outside of ourselves. So everyone experiences it growing up, but as we grow, hopefully that becomes more and more a resolved question of who you are, you know. And so that means on one side of the spectrum, your experience of insecurity could be crippling. I mean, it could command a lot of the way you live your life, right? And then on the other side of the spectrum, it may just be a much more occasional and rare sort of thing. You know, some kind of circumstance or life event happens, and suddenly you're kind of jolted into asking new questions about who you are. And then maybe you just deal with it for a few seconds or a few minutes or a day or a week or something, and then you move on. You know, it's resolved again. So there's a spectrum of insecurity that people experience. I think everyone does. And maybe it's interesting for you to hear that I am today, I'm definitely on this half of the spectrum somewhere. Growing up, I was big time on this half of the spectrum. So there's some stuff that happened in my childhood that I don't think would be good to name publicly on a videotape or anything, just out of respect. But stuff happened in my childhood that made me hyper insecure. Like, I lied almost compulsively, almost pathologically. I lied all the time. And then I became incredibly arrogant. By high school, it was full-fledged. And it's been a huge part of my healing process over the past 7 or 8 years for that to be diminished and healed. But I started out madly insecure. But I also experienced kind of a tragedy in my life around 2000 relating to some stuff with my family. And that crazy, hard experience, and that ton of suffering I went through, refined my character a great deal and brought a lot of great stuff out, burned a lot of the crap out. And it was through that process that I think security came to me in a flood. So here's why this is sort of interesting, I think. When I think about how I transitioned from being hyper insecure to being someone who only very rarely deals with insecurity, that transition wasn't something where I clearly see all that God has done to heal me through. You know, it wasn't something where I just sort of walked with Him through the whole process of healing me from that. Rather, I see a lot of really worldly stuff that brought it about. And I don't mind that. You know, I still give credit to God for doing it. Every good gift comes from Him. But here's why I'm telling you this. I don't think I have a lot of insight into how to combat it. It just sort of happened with me, you know. I've got some ideas, and as I think you'll see as I continue these videos, I think actually just rightly understanding what it is a huge and essential part of learning how to really combat it well with intentionality. So, in a sense, me talking about what it is and its effects is the best stuff I've got for helping you join with God in seeking healing and victory over that. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to have to offer in the last video. And that's why, no, that's not why. So, no, never mind that sentence. I don't even know what I was about to say. So, you're going to notice that most of what I have to offer is going to be highly philosophical, probably not very theological. So, I'm not sure what else to say about that. So, So there you go. So I guess that's the end of the intro, and now we'll get into what's the nature of insecurity. All right, here we go.